Turn it off! Turn it off! Shut it down! Shut it down! Hey everybody, Nick here with the Killing for Sport podcast. We come at you live after Halloween with that 9 p.m. giveaway, even though it's after 9 p.m. Our latest episode...
12 days after Halloween.
12 days after Halloween. So by the time you listen to this, it's 14 days after Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
Super punctual.
Yeah, so obviously our next episode, for those that don't know, is on Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. And to give everyone a quick history, it is the third movie in the Halloween series.
Black Sheep.
Michael Myers. And the only Halloween movie that had nothing to do with Michael Myers. A lot of people were upset about that.
And there is a reason behind it. I don't know if you want to go ahead and go into it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Basically, it was originally, the plan was supposed to be like American Horror Story is now, where there was Michael Myers was done. Yeah, every year there was going to be something different, and that, I guess, because it didn't succeed, they just went back with Michael Myers.
And I think the marketing for it was so vague and ambiguous that you could not tell what it was. And people were still thinking Michael Myers was probably going to be in it.
From what I read in like forums and Reddit and stuff, like that was the case. Like people thought it was just going to be another Michael Myers movie. And
I thought it was when I first saw it.
I did too.
I was upset.
Well, so did you think when the first scene, did you think he was running from Michael Myers?
I did.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to pop up from around the corner or whatever. Like, even like, and I don't want to jump into it right away, but like even right after the dude gets stuck in between the cars, like I think he's going to pop out like shortly after.
Yeah, no matter what was going on in the opening scene, I thought Michael's going to show up. This is like some kind of side plot. The guys with the suits. I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know about you, Charles, but like all the way up until like the end of the movie, I had that feeling as a kid.
Like he's going to be here any minute.
I think about 30 minutes in, I like lost hope. Once they showed it, once they show an ad.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that big of a deal. They show an ad for Halloween in this movie. Then I knew. That's actually when I knew, okay, he's not in this.
It was almost like The Undertaker in WrestleMania. You just kept waiting for it, but it never came. Like this year.
So what's interesting though is it released on October 22nd, 1982. I didn't realize that it came so early in the 80s.
Yeah, I thought it was late 80s.
Yeah.
But then I realized, no, because 4, 5, and 6, or 4 and 5 were late 80s.
Yeah, 4 was in 88, I believe.
Oh.
So they had a 6-year gap between 3 and 4?
Yeah, guess so.
I guess they're just like, hey, there's tons of money like in a Michael Myers franchise. Let's do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because Halloween 4 actually did really well when they revamped Michael Myers' story.
So this had a budget of $2.5 million, and the box office came back at $14.4 million. So I would say that is a box office hit.
It is, but it also did a
marginal.
lot. It didn't do nearly as well as 1 or 2.
Is it because it had nothing to do with Michael Myers?
Oh yeah, I would think so.
Now, what did you say the opening week was?
I don't have the opening week.
See, my theory is that like opening week, like everybody thought it was Michael Myers, so they might have had a big opening week, and then like word got out that it was not.
Yeah, if memory serves correct, it was something like 3 million, but I don't think it. I mean, I don't think it grossed very much in the first week, and I think once word got out that it wasn't Michael Myers, it dropped off pretty substantially.
Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, so it did earn $6,333,259.
So you're saying it earned half of its whole gross its opening weekend?
Yes.
That's not great.
So I'll show you what it was up against. So, the first weekend it was out, First Blood.
Like Rambo?
Yeah, Rambo had just come out. And only beat it by less than 300,000.
What?
Okay, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Followed by Monsignor, An Officer and a Gentleman, E.T., My Favorite Year, Jinxed, Pink Floyd The Wall, Descender, Jekyll and Hyde, Rocky 3, Annie, and Night Shift.
Huh. Interesting.
About a third of those I haven't never heard of.
Yeah.
What's Jinx? I've never heard of Jinx. Descending. Never heard of that.
Jinx, Harold, a professional gambler, and his girlfriend Bonita, a lounge singer, follow Willie, a young blackjack dealer, around the western U.S. Harold has a jinx on Willie, can't lose with him. Bonita and Willie meet and fall for each other and plot to do away with Harold and collect on his life insurance.
Let's just review that.
It's like the Tom Cruise porn that we were talking about.
Yeah, let's hit pause and let's come back in 2 hours after watching that. That's
Yeah. So we'll go ahead and start talking about the movie itself. Yeah.
Wait, which Halloween movie did everyone see first?
The one that came out last year.
wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Then.
So for me, I was a little bit late to the party. I kind of came up watching like a lot of the Friday the 13th movies, and for some reason I was one of those weird guys that was just like, I mean, I was fine with like Nightmare on Elm Street, but it was like, you know, if it's going to be Jason or Michael Myers, it's going to be Jason. Screw it. Mm-hmm. And for whatever reason, the first, I mean, I was aware of it in like the periphery. I mean, I don't know if I ever watched it like intently in its entirety, like the original one. But the first one that I actually did see in its entirety was 1998's Halloween H2O, and that really kind of reiterated that it was an inferior product.
Bad choice, yeah.
Busta Rhymes.
So, yeah, it took me a while to get really back into. I mean, it probably took me another. And granted, again, 1998. So, I was 18 at the time. I saw it at a drive-in movie theater. But yeah, I probably didn't watch another Halloween movie for another 10 years after that.
Yeah.
So,
well, when did Resurrection come in after? Was it 2000?
Gosh, no, I think Resurrection must have been
early 2000s.
Yeah.
Because they did like the whole like video webcam type series.
Yeah,
thing. So
yeah, that's right.
We do got to get that in there at some point.
Oh, boy.
I feel like
2002.
Okay. I do, and then I don't want to go ahead and do these because I know like we're gonna review them at some point. But like, really, if you're gonna watch the Halloween movies, you got to watch the earlier ones and a few of the middle ones.
Yeah,
I don't know if I want to watch that though. Rotten Tomatoes gives Halloween Resurrection an 11%.
It'll make it interesting. It's bad. It's one of the worst, but it makes for an interesting show.
It could be a so bad it's good kind of deal. Maybe I couldn't watch it when I.
It's
tried,
entertaining. It's entertaining for a show. For a podcast, it would make
for this show. Maybe
we might do a live show for that one.
So yeah, we'll go ahead and start talking about the actual part of the movie. So the opening credits show this pumpkin neon sign type thing on a monitor, and this guy is running from who people think is Michael Myers, and unfortunately it's not.
The music is very Carpenter-esque too. It sounds like Halloween.
Well, it is John Carpenter. Actually, he composed the whole thing. Right. So It was intentional, but
Yeah.
it wasn't. It wasn't the quote Halloween music, so you knew something was a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Carpenter was the one himself that wanted to make it like what we see with the
Anthology. Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of it being Michael Myers, it's these guys in suits and they're acting very robotic.
They're not speaking. They got like a straight face.
So I thought it easily CIA, FBI, KGB, Stasi.
Yeah, something like that.
And you see, one is easily crushed in between a car. Guy pulls the brake.
I'm sorry, the way he was hit was hilarious.
I'm gonna just go ahead and say it. I think that was probably the best death in the entire film.
He moves so slow and doesn't react to anything.
There is a reason for that. We do find out.
Yeah. At the beginning, it's just hilarious.
When you don't know, it's just you're thinking, what is going on? It's very awkward, though. Very awkward.
So it cuts to this man in a gas station watching TV, and this is when we first see the commercial. And it talks about 8 more days until Halloween.
Continuing theme in the movie. This thing comes on 12 times at least.
And I think these commercials are obviously the best part of the movie.
Yeah.
It's catchy.
So the guy from earlier runs to the gas station and says, "They're coming," and faints. And then we're just introduced to the main protagonist, Dr. Chalice. He's visiting his kids and resentful ex-wife. He gets the kids' masks, but they already have silver Shamrock mask, and we discovered that they're linked to that commercial, which we hear for the second time.
Yeah, about, I think, less than a minute or so after they showed it in the gas station, right?
Yeah.
They play it again. Yeah.
So the kid has a skull mask and the girl has a witch mask as they watch the commercial.
They love it too. They love that song, and
it's a great song.
Yeah.
I love it, and I'm almost 30 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the guy from earlier is brought into the hospital. Dr. Chalice checks on him. Commercial plays again. The guy reacts to it and says, "They're all gonna kill us, all of us." And he's holding the pumpkin mask.
Oh yeah, there's 3 masks, by the way. So there's the pumpkin we just saw there, and then the witch and the skull. And those are the only 3 masks from this company, which we'll see later, that's mass producing and distributing them throughout the whole entire country. Just these 3 masks that these kids go crazy for. And, really the only cool one is probably the skull.
Yeah.
It's those 3 to choose from.
So Dr. Chalice hits the nurse's ass while commenting that he should have married the nurse. And
he's also drunk at the time, right?
Yeah. This is the thing. They set this up when he's with his wife, actually, his ex-wife, because she says, drinking and doctoring, that's a good combination.
Because if you ever want to get a malpractice lawsuit, it's while you're drinking.
Yeah, so he's an alcoholic, I'm assuming. They never say that.
I think that's a fair statement. So KGB, CIA, Stasi sneaks in the hospital, kills the guy, breaks his skull in half while his face is still intact. Chalice watches as the guy goes outside and lights himself on fire in a car.
Yeah, he just pours it on his face and with no expression and just lights himself. No screaming, just immolates himself.
Yeah. And then Chalice, as he's being berated on the phone by his ex-wife, the police and firefighters are there, and then it fades in the next day saying Sunday the 24th, and they have not cleaned up the car from the hospital.
Yeah, the car. They just left it in front.
Yeah, whatever.
So the daughter of the old man comes to identify the body. She's distraught. Chalice takes notice of her crying in the hallway. Chalice tries to get the medical examiner to look into the murder and how a guy can pull someone's face apart. The suited business is just ashes. And then Chalice is in a bar watching some weird cartoon with a dancing plant. Then we see a preview.
Like, what was that supposed to be?
Yeah. For the original Halloween film, and then the Silver Shamrock commercial for the third time starts. Chalice, sick of it, tells the bartender to change it.
All right, so I have a serious question here. Did I miss something, or did they jump straight from 8 more days to Halloween to 2 more days till Halloween?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like, what the hell happened in those 4 days? Or 6 days, I guess. But like, I was so confused. I was like, serious time has passed, and nobody is mentioning this time jump.
You're like, did I get a bad copy of a film? For this film?
Yeah, and when he tells him to, he's like, change this, and then the bartender says, "Don't you have any Halloween spirit?" And he just goes, "No." he changes the channel.
At least he's honest, I guess. But
so the girl from the hospital walks in,
and they're watching gargoyles. Sorry, I had to get my gargoyles.
Named Ellie, and she talks about her father. We find out that her dad was Goliath from Gargoyles. Just kidding. Her dad was a toy store owner. And we see some of the Silver Shamrock masks there. And that's when they decide they're going to go to the town to investigate the mask factory.
Yeah. Yeah, this woman he doesn't know, I don't know, pretty young girl, he just decides he's gonna go off with her, and they're just going to infiltrate this mask factory. But like, he's talking to his wife on the phone.
Yeah.
And she's yelling at him and saying like, you're supposed to come and visit the kids or pick up the kids. And he just says, no, I gotta go to this doctor's thing. And he hangs the phone up on her.
Like total alcoholic stuff too, right? Like,
so maybe the ex-wife was right into,
he's into hating him, yeah. Because he has a 6-pack of beer on top of the payphone. He's still calling her on.
Well, I mean, okay, and let's be honest. I know I'm gonna jump ahead here just a tad. Like, I mean, he's fucking he ended up cheating on his wife anyway. Dude's not a good guy.
Oh, not at all.
Is he technically the anti-hero then?
I mean, it presents him overall as like a good guy.
Kind of,
but he's not. Like, yeah, he's a scumbag. Neglectful, and the other thing is, any normal person would say, hey, look, I'm curious about what happened to your father too, but hey, I mean, I told my kids I'd take him trick-or-treating, so good luck, but I can't.
Yeah, like, where are his priorities really? Like,
I know.
Like,
he's just a shitbag.
He got a chance to run off with
like,
some
I mean, like,
girl.
it's not, we can't even consider this to be like a Hippocratic oath thing. Like, this isn't even about doctoring anymore. Like,
No.
he's just decided to go rogue.
He's not a very likable main character.
No.
With that said, I do really like the actor, but no, the character.
Yeah. But like his character is not good at all.
Yeah.
Yes. So his wife berates him on the phone when he says he can't make it to pick up the kids. The TV store then plays a commercial. 2 more days until Halloween. Silver Shamrock.
Bum, 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 bum.
On the drive there, they do an exposition of the factory. After World War II, wealthy Irish toy maker bought up the town, built the factory. There's gargoyles underneath of it. Ellie and Chalice, make it to the town, and they're stared at by the locals and some of the suited men. This seems really weird. outsiders. There's some intense-looking monitor equipment.
There's cameras everywhere.
Yeah.
Yes, Cochran is up to no good.
This is Colonel Cochran.
Yeah. So they decide to pose as mask buyers or toy shop owners there to pick up and order a mask, and they get a motel. Ellie distracts the motel operator while Chalice finds that Ellie's dad went to the motel before he was killed.
Hey, this guy, the motel owner, is like, he's basically saying like, "Top of the morning to you."
Oh yeah, stereotypical as hell.
Yeah. Like he came straight from Ireland.
A black limo drives by carrying a man named Colonel Cochran, but we don't see him.
Yeah, don't see him yet.
A motorcade drives up with a yuppie family that almost hits Chalice, a guy named Buddy, and his little buddy, son. Buddy.
I'm sorry, you were just totally channeling Pauly Shore. Buddy.
What was their name? The Kupners, right? Buddy Kupner and his junior, and then the wife.
Yeah. Very yuppie-ish. The son rides off on a bike, and the mom tells him not to go in the street, and he literally flips her off.
I fucking love that kid. That kid is my fucking hero.
So he's almost then ran into again by this other lady, another toy store owner, complaining that her orders got screwed up.
Marge something.
Yeah, so after they find this information out, the girl is ready to start investigating and make a dent in the case, but Chalice changes the game and says, maybe we should slow down. I need a drink.
Yes, that is what he says. Like, they're in the hotel late at night, I think. It's like approaching evening. He's just like, well, why don't we just hang out for a little bit? And then he's like, maybe I can get another room to sleep in, and then they decide that they're just going to sleep together because they have this like romantic scene that comes out of nowhere.
Well, curfew hits too, though, right? Like this is the point where
Came a little later. Yeah.
Oh, it came after this? Because I thought curfew was like 6 p.m. or something crazy like that.
They spend like the next 20 minutes from this scene on mostly in that hotel room having sex. Like this. And he was like, well, I don't know. And then she's like, well, where do you want to sleep, Mr. Chalice? And then he says, that's a dumb question, Ellie. As if it's like some kind of 1950s romance type of film. Like, can't you imagine?
Something like Gone with the Wind.
Yeah. And then they just start kissing. And then I think that's when the curfew thing comes up.
So Chalice goes outside to talk to a homeless guy. He starts cursing Cochran, and later he has his head pulled off.
A lot of blood.
Literally.
Guys, by the suited guys.
Yeah. And yet another disturbing sex scene with Ellie and Chalice, who don't even know each other.
Yep. Just pops up.
Yep. Supposed to be finding answers about this girl's father.
It's about like every 15 minutes by now. Like there's always a sex scene.
Yeah. They don't do anything for like a quarter of this film.
Yeah.
All they do is bang.
So
when they're there.
Time passes, the Silver Shamrock commercial shows up on the radio again, then Ellie wants to have sex again.
Yeah, he even says, don't you get tired? And she says no. And then they just start doing it again. What the fuck?
Yeah. So, the angry lady from before finds some kind of weird chip thing in the trademark logo from one of the masks, and it shoots a laser into her fucking face.
I like this scene. I like this.
It was good.
Yeah.
And her eyes are like bulging in red, and her lips are burned off, and a bug crawls out of her mouth. Looked like
I think it was a potato bug.
Yeah, I would say a potato bug. And then as Charlie and Ellie are having sex, she asks what that was, and Chalice says, who cares?
Yeah.
So she's taken away in an ambulance, and we meet Cochran, who acts like nothing is going wrong, yet the girl has a white cloth over her face.
The lady being carried away is covered up completely, like, and he's saying like, I'm a Chalice. He's a doctor. He's like, let me see her, and they're not letting him see her, and they just drive away. And then Cochrane's there.
Yeah.
And he's like, she'll be receiving the best medical care money could buy, or something like that.
So they finally stop with all the sex, and they go to the factory, and they're able to snag a tour of the factory with the Buddy family.
The Kupners.
Yeah. During the tour, they show them pouring molds, and then there's a final processing room that foreshadows things.
Oh, and I wanted to talk about that for a second. When they do the tour, weren't they were able to do it because the Kupners, his toy store sold like the most masks, so he was able to go there. Excuse me, because he was invited there. But the one thing I noticed was when they walked through the back, it shows like this long shelf with a whole row of these different masks on there that were like scary looking Halloween masks that were all lined up. So I'm wondering, like, well, why didn't they how come the filmmakers didn't like add those into the story? Because then it would be more believable that these kids would want to buy up all these masks instead of just these 3 kind of lame masks that they sell. Yeah, I guess like brains, but
yeah. So,
I don't know. Like one thing I was wondering, like, if is it just because like we're growing up in like, I guess you guys were growing up in the 2000s. I was growing up in the 90s, and this movie was shot in like the early 80s. Like, were there just not a lot of masks around like every year? Was it like that? Like, am I misremembering shit? Like, was it just we took what they gave us every year?
No, I mean, I think you could get from other.
I don't know. It has me questioning my childhood a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's just the fact that they had those masks like shown in the movie. They should have put them like, in this actual story among all the other the masks that they were selling. But
yeah,
the other thing in that scene was when Chalice. Oh, by the way, Colonel Cochrane asks Chalice and Ellie what their names are. And then he says Smith. So they give their last names as Smith. And then when he's walking in the back there with Buddy or Kupner, he's telling them all about Cochrane and how great he is. And at one point he says, he made sticky toilet paper, the sawed-off chainsaw, and then he says, the dead dwarf gag. What the hell is a dead dwarf gag? Do you remember that? I don't know what that's supposed to be. But anyway.
So Ellie sees her dad's car. Suited men don't let her go near it. They're standing all over the factory. They get the bright idea to just leave, but unfortunately Ellie is kidnapped. Chalice is chased by a group of 5 or more suited men. He makes it back to the factory. But while inside, he gets into a fight with a suited man who turns out to be a droid. There's like a bunch of, green goo and wires. 2 other droids grab him as he is then confronted face to face by Colonel Cochrane.
They're kind of like the alien droids, except those had white liquid. But like these ones have green liquid.
Yeah. So Halloween Day comes and there's a montage of all the kids buying masks. And instead of just simply killing Chalice, he gives him a tour of their dark laboratory, which reveals they actually stole Stonehenge and they're using the chippings of it to put into the tags of the mask. No explanation as to how they got that piece of Stonehenge. Cochrane shows Ellie's inside some holding cell tied up. And so Cochrane shows the demonstration of what masks do, and probably the best scene of the movie. They put the Buddy family into this mock living room, and the kid puts on the mask in front of the TV. that starts flashing a pumpkin, and it activates the Stonehenge tags on the mask, and it melts his head and causes snakes and bugs to come out. The mother faints while a rattlesnake bites the dad's leg. Obviously, the best scene in the movie.
Hang on. Yeah. What they were doing though was they had somehow had a piece of Stonehenge in the lab, and they were taking chippings from it and putting them into the little shamrock tags, and then they put them on the mask, and it somehow, like, when they play this commercial, they show a flashing pumpkin, and it like activates these tags, and then they'll melt the kids' heads and I guess create bugs and snakes.
Like, what
comes
the
out of their
fuck,
head.
man? Like,
What's the reasoning?
The supernatural aspect, I guess.
So we see a montage of all the kids all over the country buying silver shamrock masks while playing the song.
Like the 8th, 9th time.
Yeah.
ding, 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 ding,
Yeah.
ding.
The medical examiner finds something off with the burn remains, that they were silver shamrock made, and a droid comes up behind her and drills her head.
That's the lady back where the droid had put the gasoline on himself, right? You're talking about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So Cochrane explains that Chalice is tied up in his room, and Cochrane explains his motivations. Turns out he's a follower of the Celtic pagan religion, who they supposedly sacrifice animals and children, and so he will make all the kids watch the television on Halloween night, and it will kill them all.
Yeah, and like, because he's also a practical joker, he factors that in too. So he says it's a big joke, but he says something about like planets aligning as well, which he doesn't go into very much. But like, I actually looked up like Celtic druids. I always thought that was like a myth. I guess it turns out they actually did sacrifice people, but I never thought that was actually true.
I mean,
But
the druids
looked
are
it up
fucking
after I
metal,
saw
that's
this.
true. But
Yeah.
So Cochrane leaves Chalice in the room to die with a mask on while Halloween plays on the TV. He escapes, and he tries to call his wife, who just yells at him and hangs up.
Yeah.
So he gets Ellie, and while being pursued by droids, he gets a hold of a box of the Shamrock tags, and he manages to turn on the commercial inside the laboratory. He stands on top of a walkway and throws him down onto the droids, and they start zapping him. So then
Wait.
Cochrane...
Hang on. Can we go back to when he escapes out of the chair?
Sure.
Oh yeah.
He manages to, like, he has a little pocket knife, so they didn't search him, but so he manages to like get one of the straps loose, and he still has like the strap, like, you know, on his upper arms, I guess. But he takes the mask off, and he, like, with absolute precision, he flings it up at the camera, and it completely covers the camera. But he does this before why didn't he take off the top strap too before he did that? And the other thing was, it was pointless to even throw the mask onto the camera, because regardless of whether they could see him or not, if there's something covering the camera, they're going to go check, just like they would if they looked at the camera and he wasn't there. So that didn't make any sense at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
That's all.
Cochrane does a slow clap to Chalice as he is then eviscerated by a light that comes out of Stonehenge. They escape as the factory burns, and as they drive away, a twist that nobody saw coming, and I don't think was really necessary. Ellie suddenly
everybody
attacks.
saw it coming. Let's be honest.
I didn't see it. Ellie suddenly attacks Chalice, revealing herself to be a droid. About 3 or 4 jump scares later.
Hold it.
The Ellie bot.
Yeah.
I
Az
got some
attacks him
questions.
several times until she stops moving. And then its arm attacks him too.
There.
Several times.
Questions. Yeah, like 4 or 5 jump scares. Okay. Was she a droid the entire time? Or, and this is the one I'm leaning towards, did when they took her away, when they kidnapped her, did they kill her and then just make a droid of her?
So that I kind of looked at that as well, and I mean it generally, or it seems as though she was only a robot droid, whatever, after they'd captured her.
Yeah,
like because she didn't. I mean, I don't know. Maybe like the only thing that kind of tracks on that front is how she was sort of seducing Chalice, but like
she kill him then.
Right, exactly. That doesn't make any sense. Why would she care about her father's vehicle? Like it doesn't add up. So I mean, the only thing that really makes sense is that she was sort of traded out for a replicant or whatever.
But we'll never know, sadly.
Oh no,
I know. And like, I'm trying to think. Well, then why would they even bother to make a replica of her? And I'm thinking maybe they did that as a precaution. So like, if he found her.
I mean, Charles, it's a prank, right? Like, I mean, he's the best prankster of all time.
she would kill him, but then like she's there when he pours all those little shamrock tags down that kill Cochrane and all the droids. So
right,
why didn't she stop him when he was pouring all the tags down? She was right behind him. He just let him do it, so it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Are you saying this movie is flawed, Charles? Like...
I'm just trying to figure this out.
So, Chalice runs into the same gas station from the beginning and then manages to get 2 or 3 TV stations to stop playing the commercial. As the third one keeps going, Chalice screams, "Stop it! Turn it off! Turn it off! Turn it off!
Stop it! Yeah.
And then it just cuts to black.
9 p.m., the big giveaway.
So is it fair to assume that everyone gets killed?
I guess. Was there supposed to be a sequel? And they just never...
No, I think it was just supposed to be another story after 3.
But I wonder if he opened that up just for... I don't know. Well, no, because, like you said, it was supposed to be an anthology, but... I don't know.
Maybe they might have saved...
Just in case it did well, maybe they thought of an idea.
Saved like a segment of the population if they didn't watch the other channels.
Yeah.
That were,
I'm sure that they just flipped to the next channel and it played. So yeah, I thought it was a pretty good movie. I'd say I'd probably give it a 8 out of 10.
Oof.
That's too generous for me. I'd give it a 6.
I'd go 5. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't good.
I'm also a 5.
It's interesting. I've learned to appreciate it as years went on, just not as a Halloween movie.
Right. But, so, like, okay, if I get, like, it's such a conflicting thing in general for me, because, like, if you look at it just at face value, Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, right? Like, Halloween, okay, that tracks. If there was never a Halloween movie before this one, like, I get it. This is a Halloween movie. Cool, call it Halloween.
Yeah.
Okay, sidebar, where are the witches? What the fuck does Season of the Witch have to do with anything?
I have sort of an answer. When Cochrane is explaining to him, he says, the sacrifices, he says they're a part of our craft. And then Tom Atkins, or Chalice, says, witchcraft. Remember?
Wait.
Yeah.
And there's a witch. And there's a witch mask.
Was it a pun?
Jesus.
That's
the pun gave away the whole thing.
Oh, no.
The only thing I can think of.
So back at the movie, like, from what I was reading, a lot of people were saying this movie would, basically what you were saying earlier, Kevin, is that this would be generally better reviewed if it wasn't a Halloween movie, if it was just called Season of the Witch.
Yeah. I mean, and I kind of get what they were trying to do with it, but they can't do that after Halloween 1 and 2. If this had been Halloween 2, like, maybe they'd have pulled it off.
Right.
Yeah, Halloween 1 should have just ended.
You just can't do it after the same
right
movie.
You can't just decide after 2 movies of a sequel, or rather of a series, that you're just going to go in a different direction, especially when you're up against movies like, again, Friday the 13th.
All the franchises.
And
where there's exactly, where there's a franchise starting. I don't, and to John Carpenter's credit, and he was involved in this film. It wasn't like this was not at all. Yeah. So I think overall, like, it wasn't a bad movie or anything. It wasn't a great movie, but like
too many loose ends. Like you said.
I think I give the extra 1. Like, it would be a 5 for me, but I give the 6 mostly because of Tom Atkins.
Stop that shit.
The main actor.
Sorry. Cat.
Cat. Tom Atkins never fails. Like, I think we have Night of the Creeps coming up eventually. He's in that. He's great in that.
Night of the Creeps is a classic, one of my favorites. I think that might be several weeks out though. I'm not. Nick showed me the schedule earlier. I don't.
It's been revised so much I can't even.
I know. I don't know when everything is. Although I do know that I believe Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Devil's Rejects are the next 2. But yeah. But no, Tom Atkins obviously was the star of this film all the way.
He was the hero.
So, I don't know. Maybe I got another question here. Like, why do the Irish give a shit about Stonehenge? That's a British thing, right? Like,
well, I think Stonehenge. Yeah, I think Stonehenge had to do with Celtic Druids, though, from what I remember. So
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense.
I believe it was related to. Yeah, Celtic pagans were long believed to have built Stonehenge. So
okay,
it did involve Celtics, but or the Celts. It was in it's in England, so
yeah.
Yeah, somehow they stole a huge slab of the stones, which they don't explain how they did that.
No, not really. I mean, but well, again, nothing in this movie is particularly well explained. Like, what is the whole final processing step of making these masks? Like, I guess is it inserting the Stonehenge?
Yeah, I think that room
stuff?
They were in,
like
that lab, was the final processing. Yeah.
And why was that off limits though? Like, I mean, if they've already made these like little medallions and it's just a matter of like latching it onto the mask, who gives a shit? Like, why can't they see that? But
Stonehenge?
Like,
well, they can't see the Stonehenge.
Oh, okay. Was like Stonehenge in the fucking room? Like, what the?
Yeah, you didn't,
like, I don't know.
You didn't see it? Yeah, it was there. It was right there. Yeah, the Stonehenge showed them chipping pieces off of a giant stone slab.
Well, no, I didn't notice that. Now I'm even more confused.
Oh, okay.
So, like,
yeah, that's where that beam of light comes out and kills Cochrane after all the droids.
Yeah, we didn't really mention much about that. That's kind of a key thing. Excuse me.
Yeah, oh, that's right. Yeah, he. Okay, I guess we're going back to review mode.
We forgot to mention like a key part of the ending.
So yeah, there's this in the lab. There's a whole room of TVs, and there's like all these knobs and whatnot. And Chalice gets he gets this box full of the tags, the Shamrock tags, and he turns all these knobs and he turns on all the different commercials, and then he runs up this walkway and with the girl now as a droid. Again, she doesn't try to stop him from doing this, but he pours all the tags down, and they all fall into Cochrane and the droids, and they start activating and zapping.
But like, did they somehow fall into a perfect circle or something? Like, what the fuck happened there? Like, it seemed like it was designed properly. Like when everything quote unquote got activated, it was all just like, perfectly aligned.
Yeah, they had all the monitors aligned in a circle for some reason.
Oh, okay.
And then the one part I liked was when after he does that, Connell Cochran looks up at him and gives him like a slow clap after he did that. Do you remember that?
I do remember that because it's just like, all right, you got me. Like,
yeah,
like mad respect, bro.
He won the battle though, but Cochran won the war. Assuming all the kids got killed,
sure, or turned into snakes or whatever.
Well, yeah. Another thing I remember is when he tries to call out on the phone a couple times. It's Jamie Lee Curtis's voice as the operator.
Oh, yes. I remember that now. I read something about that, and I thought that was interesting because Cochran, like, he basically ran the whole town, and any calls in or out, it just seemed like it was just futile. And the one thing that I thought was really interesting, and I apologize, I know we went over this a little bit earlier, it's just like, we're going to give this lady whose face was just melted the best medical care at a nearby factory. Like, how does that work? Like, are you a doctor? Cochran was not a doctor. He was just a dude, right? Like, he was a wealthy guy. Like, yeah. And it was funny because I noticed that Chalice was just like kind of letting it go because he didn't want to give himself away. But like, it jumped out to me as just ridiculous.
The thing is, it wasn't like all droids working there though. There were the people they talked to, near the beginning that were working. Like there was the gas station guy.
Because there was the drunk that was talking about, oh yeah, they were hiring people from out of town, but not him.
Do those people out of town know what's happening?
I have no idea. Like,
see the droids, they must know that there's some weird curfew around, and maybe they're a part of that cult also.
Again, more left unexplained. Oh, one thing I did want to note, I looked into this. So Santa Mira, the town that all of this stuff is going on. So Santa Mira is a fictional California town. It's the same setting from the film Invasion of the Body Snatchers from 1956.
Huh, interesting.
Wow.
Yeah. I just happened to pick that up today while like kind of doing some background research, and I think it's very cool that they went that route with it and used the same town name. And I mean, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, considering like what all is going on here, it's it's fitting. So
the other thing is, I would like to think that this movie takes place in the same universe as the other Halloween films, but then they ruined that when they showed Halloween on TV.
Yeah,
they completely fictionalized it.
Yeah. Because I like to think that about all horror films. They all take place like how you could have Freddy fight Jason, right?
It's all in the same universe.
Sure.
So, anything else before we wrap up?
Speaking of Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah.
So, like, was that, like... I remember, like, there was plans of, like, having a whole bunch of Versus movies shortly after that.
Yeah.
It just never panned out.
Yeah, they
Does anybody have info on this?
They pumped out Alien vs. Predator, and that did really bad. Or really poorly, so I think it kind of died there.
Yeah, I mean, Freddy vs. Jason did okay, but like the other problem is you had all of these different movie studios that would have to give up the rights to their characters to get these things done. Yeah. And it was just too much effort for a lot of the studios, and I don't know if they felt that it was worth their reward.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I do believe one of the closest ones we got was, I think it was Freddy versus Jason versus Ash, and I think that went to like a comic book. But
it was badass. I wish they did that.
but yeah, I mean, comic book, I guess, rights, publishing rights rather, versus like movie rights, I think are more complicated, and of course the whole Evil Dead Ash situation, like they had a hard enough time for Ash versus Evil Dead getting the rights to the Evil Dead stuff.
Right.
Like Army of Darkness, for instance, like I mean, and that's just the same franchise, like. So yeah,
As I read the comic series online, Freddy versus Jason versus Ash, and it would have been like it was a direct sequel to Freddy versus Jason, and I thought it was real kind of hokey when I heard about it. But reading the comic book, I thought, wow, this actually probably would have been pretty good if they were able to pull it off.
Is this staying in the podcast?
Yeah, that's
Sure.
fine.
All right. So go ahead and wrap things up.
Do you have shit again, Nick? Sorry.
No. That's going out though. Thank you everybody for joining us. I had fun. Hopefully everybody else did as well. Join us next time for
The Langoliers.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Langoliers.
I vote Langolier.
It's happening.
Yeah.
It's
It's
totally
gonna be
happening.
like it'll be a very long review show.
So
Actually, not really, because it's long, but like not a lot happens.
Yeah.
So with that,
It won't be long. It'll just be depressing.
Yeah.
we will also be reviewing Texas Chainsaw Massacre because Kevin is dead set on doing that for Thanksgiving.
That's perfect.
And then also Devil's Rejects.
Cool.
So a double episode. We will not be reviewing the same night. So yeah.
Get off the damn keyboard.
Yeah. Good night, Guatemala. Good night, Mr. Stedman.
This is Stashy.
Good night,
Take your meds,
Stashy.
Stashy.
Take your
Good night, John Boy.
meds. Take your goddamn pills.
Turn it off.
Fuck the Baltimore Ravens.
Turn it off.